Nigeria, Africa's biggest economy, is beset with many uncertainties as well as endless possibilities. The synergy of the public and private sector is pivotal to the emergence of a sustainable economic growth pattern that will benefit all citizens. Watch Business Trends, the platform where experts, public and private sector policy strategists, CEOs and regulators share their views on the growth prospects of the nation's economy. Watch Business Trends at these times. Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to you. Many thanks for joining me on today's episode of Business Trends. I'm Izini Egasi. Just stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Business Trends. Now, on our first trending story, the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo expressed optimism with the progress of the focus laboratories established to unlock bottlenecks of the private sector investment. Now, he said the government will continue to support the lab to enable it achieve the targeted $25 billion investment into the Nigerian economy. Details in a moment.
The event, attended by concerned ministries and government parastatals, was to look at the performance of government focus on three critical sectors of agriculture, transport, oil and gas and power. Expectedly, the Minister of Budget and National Planning, Senator Udoma, took time to explain to the listening audience progress so far made by the labs and expressed hope that the labs will sustain recent economic achievement of the administration. He said the labs have helped to identify 59 projects in 4 and 5 categories within the 3 focus labs under review, particularly in the area of issuance of licenses, payment, as well as customs and excise papers.
And they are responsible for the selected sectors within the 3 labs. And I would like to thank them. They are here in person. I'd like to thank them for making themselves available for this project, for prioritizing this project in spite of other pressing engagements. It's evidence of the importance that the Buhari administration gives to the successful implementation of the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, to successfully transforming the Nigerian economy, to creating jobs for our people, and to making life better for Nigerians. I also wish to commend the dedication and resilience of all the participants at the 3 focus labs. It's no means an easy feat for you to leave the day-to-day jobs that you have, running your different businesses, to participate in these labs for 6 weeks. But I can assure each and every one of you that your participation here, that you will find it extremely fruitful. It will be good for your organizations. It will be good for Nigeria. And the progress that we have witnessed during the gallery walk in the various lab projects reflects the enormous amount of work that all of you as investors and all the various agencies of government, including some state governments who've participated. It shows the enormous amount of work that you have put in. As we all know, the ERGP Focus Labs were set up mainly to identify and unlock investments from the private sector by resolving complex interagency problems that act as barriers to private sector investment. By bringing all of you, the investors, the heads of the critical agencies of government, into a single environment, government is offering you a platform to finalize your business decisions in the fastest possible manner. And from what we have seen, and I have been following closely the progress of the labs, And from the data that we have seen from the 3 labs, we are clearly on course to meeting our target $25 billion investment commitment. We are on course, but more work needs to be done. A number of issues and problems have been identified. We have to spend the next 2 weeks tackling each of those problems one by one. But I want to state and emphasize that we have to meet each other halfway. There are some investors who were given the impression that everything is for government to do. It is not, and it cannot be. Each of those problems, we will look at what can the investors themselves do and what can government do. We must meet each other halfway in order to be able to unlock the investments and solve the problems.
The minister further highlighted progress in the manufacturing and processing labs, saying government will also focus on development of implementation program, identification of key performance indicators, and syndication with government MDAs to ensure government approvals are secured for project funding, private investors, and financial institutions.
For the Agriculture and Transport Lab, progress is being made to develop a market-driven outgrower scheme that will benefit medium-sized farms across the country. As I indicated earlier, going by the number of 4 to 5-star projects that should be ready for approval by the end of this week, we are positive that the aim of resolving the interagency bottlenecks is being achieved. Okay, thank you very much. So in conclusion, we will continue to work hard to ensure that the objectives for which the labs are being conducted are fully achieved. The labs are work in progress, and after this set of labs, we will do more labs in other areas. We're looking at entertainment industry, education, health. We will do labs at all the sectors which have been identified in the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan. Because the lab is actually a way of thinking, is a way of addressing problems. We have, and people should understand that what we have is Nigeria Incorporated. All of us are part of Nigeria Incorporated. And we must work together, private sector, public sector, investors. We'll work together, we'll solve the problems and create a better Nigeria, a stronger Nigeria, a richer Nigeria, a more successful country.
Vice President Yemi Osibajo, who was satisfied with the explanations of the budget minister, said government will do its bidding to ensure regulatory bottlenecks are totally eliminated to allow inflow of investment into the country.
And while we all accept that regulatory bureaucracy is important, otherwise policy is defeated. And otherwise, we may not even have a level playing field for most of what we want to do. Yet, regulatory bureaucracy can get in the way, and it's important for regulators and investors to sit together to work out ways of ensuring that none gets in the way of the other. And I think that that's what the lab process has managed to achieve, that we're actually able to see the regulators face to face, are actually able to meet and talk about what the problems are and try and upscale the problems. Most problems, as you know, have some kind of solution. And what we really want to achieve is a win-win situation where both the private, the investor and government, of course representing the people, are reasonably satisfied that what we want to do will benefit everyone. So let me commend you all very much for what I've seen here. I've gone around myself, spent the last 2 hours trying to understand what the issues are, and I'm very encouraged that we really need, that we really have what it takes to get all of the things that we've said we want to get done, and we will do so. It shows there's a lot of remarkable progress, and that working together we can achieve so much. I'm particularly impressed by the level of engagement, the enthusiasm and the interest that has been shown, and especially accepting to lock yourselves up for a number of weeks, all in a bid to partner with government to fast-track the growth and development of our country. Indeed, moving forward as a country requires a great level of commitment and patriotic zeal. Indeed, moving forward as a country requires a great level of commitment and patriotic zeal. And I know that this patriotic zeal is so evident. Everyone is talking about what we can do for the country. What is it that we can do to make things work?
In all, stakeholders agreed to set up more labs that will focus on other critical areas of the Nigerian economy, particularly the health and entertainment industries.
All right, in another story, the federal government raised alarm over the unhealthy status of smuggled imported rice being dumped into the country. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, at a media briefing in Lagos, said the government could not guarantee the health status of the rice, having spent months on the high seas and warehouses. The report.
He appealed to Nigerians to complement the efforts of the government by consuming only locally grown and processed rice, which he said is fresher, tastier and healthier. Mohammed said rice smuggling was the biggest challenge facing rice production in Nigeria. Quoting the Rice Millers, Importers and Distributors Association of Nigeria, Rimidan, he said more than 2 million metric tons of parboiled rice were smuggled into Nigeria in 2017. He said smuggled rice was primarily sourced from Thailand and India and came into Nigeria through the country's borders with Benin, Niger and Cameroon.
The result is the exponential growth in local rice production that has now moved us closer to ending rice importation. Within 2 years, rice importation from Thailand fell from 644,000 metric tons, that's in September 2015, to 20,000 metric tons in September 2017. That's over 90% drop. Let me put things in perspective. So far, less than 100 billion naira has been spent on the Anchor Borers programs that has achieved so much. Meanwhile, in April 2008, the then federal government had to quickly release 80 billion naira from the Natural Resources Development Fund to import 500,000 metric tons of rice in order to cushion what it said was the effect of a global disaster. Imagine that we had plowed that money into rice production in 2008. We wouldn't have been exporting rice by today. Where we stand in rice farming, rice milling, and distribution today. According to the Rice Processors Association of Nigeria, RIPAN, there are more than 11 million rice farmers in Nigeria today, up from 5 million in 2015. RIPAN's total investment in the Nigerian economy is in excess of 300 billion naira. Upcoming investment will amount to an extra 250 billion naira. The new investments will add 5,000 extra jobs and additional 1.775 million metric tons of integrated rice milling capacity. It will save us $300 million in forex from import substitution through local processing. Nigeria's rice paddy production has seen significant growth in the past 3 years, from 4 million metric tons to 7 million metric tons. Nigeria's rice import bill is settled $1.65 billion annually, has dropped by over 90%. Self-sufficiency in rice production. As I said earlier, our target is to achieve self-sufficiency in our paddy rice production by 2020. Nigeria's current rice consumption is approximately 6 million metric tons of milled rice. In 2015, Nigeria produced 2.5 million metric tons of milled rice. By 2017, however, this rose to 4 million metric tons, leaving a gap of 2 million metric tons. Our target is to fill that gap by 2020. In 2015, there were only 13 integrated mills. By 2017, the number has risen to 21. After 8 more were added. Please note that the new investments were made when Nigeria was in recession, indicating investors' confidence in Mr. President and the Nigerian economy. The investments have not stopped. 15 more mills are about to take off, including the Dangote rice mill, to be established in 6 states, with a total capacity for about 1 million metric tons annually. Job creation from increased rice production. RIPAN members presently employ 5,000 skilled Nigerians. This is direct employment. 5 million farmers, indirect employment. Over 500,000 input suppliers, indirect employment. Hundreds of thousands of unskilled workers, including laborers. You can then do the math yourself to see the total number of jobs that has been created by RIPAN alone. Remember that there are other small-scale rice millers all over the country who are not members of RIPAN. The challenge of rice smuggling. Rice smuggling is the biggest challenge, among others, facing rice production in Nigeria today. According to the Rice Millers, Importers and Distributors Association of Nigeria, Rimidan, over 2 million metric tons of parboiled rice was smuggled into Nigeria in 2017. Smuggled rice is primarily sourced from Thailand and India and comes into Nigeria through the country's borders with Benin, Niger, and Cameroon. Let's take a look at rice smuggling through Benin Republic. The total demand for white rice.
Now let's talk about the MPR. Now, the CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele announced the decision of the committee at the end of the MPC meeting held in Abuja. The committee noted improvement in the level of external reserves, which stood at $46.69 billion as at March 29, 2018. More details in a moment.
The Apex Bank, however, expressed dissatisfaction at the low volume of credit growth to the economy, noting that deposit money banks must be encouraged to grant credit to those who need it to boost growth. The committee therefore urged the DMB to continue to support credit delivery at single-digit rate through mechanisms, while charging the banking system to establish frameworks to increase credit delivery to employment-generating sectors.
The committee noted that at 14%, The policy rate was tight enough to rein in current inflationary pressures. The committee therefore reaffirmed its commitment to price stability conducive to sustainable and inclusive growth. The committee noted with satisfaction the gradual implementation of the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan in an effort to stimulate economic recovery. In the same vein, the committee urged quick passage of the 2018 appropriation bill by the National Assembly so as to keep fiscal policy on track and deliver the urgently needed reliefs in terms of employment and growth for its citizenry.
The Apex Bank also disclosed that it is in the process of releasing guidelines to encourage DMB to increase credit to the private sector in order to catalyze economic growth.
Welcome back. You're watching Business Trends right here on Galaxy Television. Now, the Bayelsa State Governor Seriake Dixon decried the inability of all multinationals to pay their taxes appropriately and as when due. He made the disclosure at the Government House in Yenegua while receiving members of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria during the monthly transparency briefing of his administration.
Speaking at the briefing, Governor Dixon, who was represented by his deputy Rear Admiral John Jonah, spoke on government taxation policy.
Multinationals that are here, that we are not living to the expectation. They also live in other areas to come and operate. Human beings live here, and if you feel that what you get here is good enough, the environment should also be good enough for you to stay. And by the tax law, you have to stay there to pay tax. We want them to come here so internally generated revenue also increase rather than paying in other areas.
Speaking further, the deputy governor stated that government will be held accountable only when taxes are paid, while the President Chartered Institution of Taxation of Nigeria, Cyril Ikemefuna, commended the transparency initiative.
The country's government is run on IGR, taxes and levies. People pay, and that is why they will always say taxpayers' money. We try to see here taxpayers' money, but how many pay tax? It is when you are paying tax that you can hold government accountable, whoever is managing the money, because your money is there. And I think that is the way Nigeria is going. I think people are more aware of the need to pay tax, and people also are aware that if you pay tax, we want to see what we are using our money for, because it is our money, which we have actually collectively agreed to put in the common purse. And that is the direction that we are going.
Of interest to us is your monthly transparency media briefing, through which the state provides details of its revenue inflows and expenditure. We allowed you for this step. As an institute, we support leaders who are accountable in the management of government revenue, which is a good way towards increasing general transparency and honesty and then tax compliance.
Now, finally, on the program, the Ogun State Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture said new and existing companies will be further exposed to emerging local and international market opportunities through the 2018 trade fair. Let's hear what they have to say about this.
President of the Ogun CCIMA, Adeshola Adebutu, made this known at the press conference as part of activities lined up for the 9th Gateway Trade Fair in Abeokuta, the state capital. Adebutu says the fair has become imperative in the actualization of economic gains and growth the nation is presently experiencing.
There is an urgent need for us to re-strategize and take bold initiatives that will propel us forward socio-economically in order for us to compete favorably with our counterparts internationally. Globalization is a major reality we have to take full advantage of. As a lot of goods and services worldwide is just a snap of the finger away, and we can't afford to be left behind as an organized private sector.
Adebutu further disclosed that the presence of international participants, such as the China Chambers of Commerce, as well as other countries, will help to further open the vista of industrial development to all and sundry. She, however, enjoined manufacturers, farmers, industrialists, importers and exporters to maximize the opportunity to be part of the fair.
We are taking advantage of this amazing opportunity to use the 9th Gateway International Trade Fair to expose the companies, both old and new in Ogun State, to the emerging local and international market opportunities and create an interface between the local SMEs and the foreign companies, particularly those of ECOWAS and the Chinese investors that are coming into Ogun State.
And that's all we can take for today. Do join us again next time, but before then, keep patronizing Made in Nigeria products. I'm Izine Egasi. Bye for now.